1, 2, check.
All right. Welcome. We are here at Dos Margaritas in Crabapple. Depending on how long this program runs tonight, could be Trace.
Nope. Still going to be Dos.
Dos?
Yep. They're kind of committed to it.
They're committed?
They printed napkins and menus.
All right. Well, we are here for another of our weekly-ish wrap-up shows with Coach Clack from the Milton football program. Everybody give it up. Thank you.
We got a good crowd tonight.
We are good. We are ready to go. Coach.
Quick thank you to Dos Margaritas, our sponsor, for the great margaritas. The guacamole is rolling.
That's right.
Lots of good chips, a good crowd tonight. Thank you all for coming out.
And
thank you, Coach Clack, for joining us.
If you haven't ordered your Thanksgiving turkey burrito,
No, they don't do Thanksgiving.
you need to.
No, they don't do that anymore. But they do a mean queso.
Yes.
And kids, if you haven't ordered a queso at your table yet, make your parents buy you a queso.
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 All right.
All right,
Coach, tell us about the game that just was.
the big Alpharetta win.
The game that just was. So many things come into that game. You know, it's a rivalry game, which, by the way, I love. You know, the new region brings our core rivals of Roswell and Alpharetta to it, like we've talked about before. I've always had an issue, kind of a psychological hurdle for me to get over of having that thing in a non-region when it doesn't mean as much. But everything we build, our entire message all year long is you build the region. All right? And then region is all about your placement for the tournament. And then, the tournament is what it's all about. So very, very excited, proud of our team. We knew it was going to be a very emotional game. We knew it was, we talked about, they circled us, and that's all I heard all year, all off season. They're coming for us, and proud of our kids for not buying into that. We talk about we don't circle other teams. We circle our core values. We circle our keys to victory. We circle us as well. And I thought that showed. And the guys weathered the storm. Hats off to Alpharetta. They played gritty, hard football. Made some plays early. Put our team in a situation we hadn't quite been in. It was kind of the flip of the Johns Creek game, if you think about it. And it was good to see that both sides of the ball can respond, and both sides of the ball can turn that scoreboard off and say, you know what, hey, teams are going to get plays. We're going to have mistakes here and there. The plan is good. I trust my teammates. I trust myself. I trust my coaches. Let's go back out in the second half, clean it up a little bit, and we dominated the second half.
Absolutely. When you look at like an Alpharetta team, a team that we've had to play kind of as the rivalry game, not the region game, but the rivalry game for a while now. They've been kind of a little bit of a whipping boy in the past, but the program seems to be picking up a little bit over there. Maybe can you talk about what's going on in Alpharetta? That it seems like, I don't want to talk too much about them, but they're doing good stuff over there. They were a much better competitor this week than I've seen them in the past.
Sure, and they're a tough one to figure out too, because when you look at it, they won a lot of ball games, and the Milton Alpharetta game historically was super close. 17. I tell you, I think they were actually the better football team that night, but we were able to outlast them. 18 and 19, we were clearly better than them, and I think we started to separate a little bit. But hats off to their coaches and their coaching staff. Those guys, I kept expecting them to quit and to break, because not only did we imposed ourselves a lot on both lines of scrimmage,
Mm-hmm.
and they took it and they kept fighting. So that tells me I always say the greatest compliment that you could give me as a coach is my team plays hard. And I used to say for me, but I say my team plays hard for one another, and that means that I got them on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those guys were playing very hard,
Yeah.
and he's assembled a really good coaching staff. I tell you, it's one of the hardest defenses I've ever had to plan for. And he was the offensive coordinator at Hoover, and they are a perennial powerhouse,
Mm-hmm.
and they do a great job, especially offensively. And I know he stressed this defensively with some of the sets and motions and things that they did. So hats off to them. I expect them to just continue to ascend, which is going to be awesome.
That's great.
For the region and the rivalry.
Yeah, that's what we want to see.
Absolutely.
So talk about the lead up getting into the game. Felt the practices were tight, they where you wanted them to be, coming off of the previous game.
Yeah,
Walk us through that a little bit.
you know, we're still, I think, as you go through, they call it mid-season form for a reason, and I think this year mid-season is going to be even later. I really, really believe when you look across the state, you see it primarily on the offense side of the ball. Guys are still, and we talked about this last time, we're still kind of trying to play catch up with some of those reps and some of those things. I think there's a COVID toll and just psyche and just the strain of all the uncertainty and all the, just all the lack of connection, and you just kind of see it. We're going back to school now, and there's a little bit, so things were a little, I'll be honest with you, a little off at times in the week, but we continued to strain and fight through it. We had a little reset on Wednesday. Had a good talking with the team at one point, and they agreed though, and it was one of those things, and that's what I tell them. I was like, guys, it's my job to make sure that we hold ourselves accountable, and if things aren't up to our standard, we're gonna stay here until we get it to our standard. And thankfully, we don't have to do that very often. But the beauty of it is I think you see correlations. I'm a big believer in the correlations of practice in the game. And, where we were at times just a little flat, maybe not quite mid-season form in the week, I think we saw that on Friday night as well. And the beauty of it is, though, is we could be a little off, but we have the confidence, we have the culture, we have the belief that we can get it right. And I thought we did that on Friday night, and I think the boys are going to be more excited than ever to get back after it this week.
So here we are, with the COVID, it's a little bit different, but the mid-season is coming upon us. When you look at this team, is there any pleasant surprises that you've hit at this point in the season? Things that you're kind of excited to see?
Yeah, we actually talked about this a little bit the first night, and I just still am very pleasantly surprised, not surprised, but affirmed, and some of the younger guys who are stepping up. And some of the sophomores who are making plays, some of the juniors who are making plays, some of the seniors who are playing for their first time and getting their opportunity and coming out. So what is encouraging about that is, again, you know that there's more to get out of that. You know that the ceiling, as we talk about our ceiling all the time, our ceiling is still way beyond where we are. We had that message today. We hope we have 10 weeks left right now. 10 weeks left if you think about it with the bye week. Yeah. We have 5 games, 4 games, plus a bye week, plus five rounds of the playoffs. You calculate that out, that's 50 some odd practices. If you hit home on 90% of those, can we get 40% better than we are right now? Can we get 40% better than we are right now with guys who are still young, guys who are still getting their first experience, guys who missed the summer and missed the spring? And I look at them and I say, what's your belief if we can do that? And because mine is super high for this group. It's super high for this group, but the task is on us to make sure that we squeeze that 40% or so out of these next, hopefully, 10 weeks.
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit. Is that something, and I don't know that we've discussed it in any of the earlier shows, but is there a time period where you are able to kind of sit with players individually, either yourself or perhaps their position coach, and basically work through exactly what their 40% kind of goal might be?
So I think one thing that we started doing, started it at West Forsyth, it was from a very, very positive interaction with a player and a parent in our position group, and he basically came back and said, I'm not asking about playing time, but my son is coming home and he doesn't understand why he plays sometimes and why he doesn't. So I realized there was a communication breakdown. So we created a player performance review, and before every season, every position coach has to sit down with their player and essentially say, this is where you are, this is what is expected of you now, tell me where you want to go, and here's the roadmap to get there. And then on the flip side of that is our core values broke down and rubriced out with all the behaviors, and then we grade them on those as well. This is where we see you on a trust factor, on a humility factor, on a perseverance factor. So we use those to help set their goals for what we need to be and what our expectations
So this is kind of an opportunity and a time where a player is able to revisit that.
Absolutely.
And when they look and go, okay, what do I need to do? Where can my contributions be?
Because it
They've got
changes.
them, right?
Because it changes, and and just being 100% honest with the teacher schedule, with kids, and with might not get a chance to sit down formally, but now the informal feedback, you have something to base it on. If we can start in the right place, we can generally help navigate. We have several meetings throughout the year, and anytime there's a major decision that needs to be taking place, or there's, hey, you were a starter, or maybe you're not, or maybe you were this position and now I need you to be this position, those same conversations happen, and they're very intentional.
So I love that. Like, we watched the team so far. It's been a very fun season from a fan standpoint to watch this team and to see what they can do and all the different tools that we're bringing to the table. The idea of 40% better is incredible. Like, what, and if we were to say, like, what don't we know about this team yet at this point in the season? What are we looking forward to in that 40%? What are you going to be looking for? Where's this improvement going to come from? Where's it going to impact?
What I want to see is, us just continue to play cleaner. I think you see on every level, from offensive line to defensive line to secondary to the receivers, every level, I think you see, signs and glimpses, if not prolonged glimpses of that's elite 7A football play. But I think also at every level, there's also that, where was it right now? Whether it just be, man, how did we mishandle the snap? Or how did we, have a penalty there? Or, man, we didn't get lined up correctly. So, again, I think it's just more and more and more about honing in on our fundamentals, making all that stuff, almost unconscious, and almost effortless. When a team is really clicking, it's not rah, 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 rah. It's almost a quiet buzz that you can see, and it's almost as if they're connected on a string. And that only happens with time, and that only happens with, you got to go through the bumps and bruises. And again, I love the journey that we've been on so far, hey, defense had to pick offense up, offense had to pick defense up, special teams had to make some plays. We've played different styles of opponents. We've been on TV. We've had those things. So all those things add in to helping build the whole thing as you ascend into the 11th week.
Yeah, that's great. It must be, and then that moment must be like the rewarding moment for the coach. That says when you can kind of get the quiet excellence, right? When it becomes standard.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Do you find that then becomes engaging to your point, where you have, every coach speaks to, we all have our jobs to do, right? And when you have that and you are executing more efficiently and things are running more smoothly, does that cause you to sort of, not from a superstitious way, but to say, this is the way the machine is supposed to work, and I'm less likely to tinker with it? And as a result, then, you get to a point in the season where maybe there is an individual player that says, I might not, they're at that midway point where it's the start of the season, I can accomplish anything. Maybe they're getting to the midway point, not seeing as many reps as they thought they were, and kind of have to, on an individual basis, battle through because they may not realize that they are going to be needed 2 weeks from now or in that fourth playoff game.
Yeah. Again, the season's always going to ebb and flow. Your position is going to ebb and flow. And we work hard to try to find opportunities for guys to step up and make plays and have roles, because you are going to need, you don't know what you need, down the line. And there's so many times, and that's the beauty of football is, it's 22 starters or 11 on the ball, at one time, but there's going to be an injury. There's going to be a game plan that's going to ask something else. That's why we cross-train guys. Mm-hmm. We have that flexibility. And so we just try to do our best, to keep guys engaged, to keep them thinking of actually had this conversation today. Football is unique in the sense that 99.9% of it, you're working to play a game. And the game that you play, you probably, if you really quantify it, you get to be out there for 5 minutes, if you're a starter. You better fall in love with the process. You better fall in love with all the things that are not playing time, because that's where the true value of this sport is. You may be a backup lineman who's not getting a lot of reps right now on Friday night, but man, you worked your tail off in service time to make the defensive line better, and they played because you. And so that's hard. That's a very mature thing and a very mature way of looking at things, because you don't necessarily get to have your name in the headlines, and you don't get, the thing that is the most fun. But that's not really what it's about. It's about bet, and it's about building those relationships. It's about building that competitive toughness. It's about building that relentless effort to pursue a goal that is not going to be instant gratification. Can you continue to work through that? So that's kind of how we handle that, and we try to keep it positive, and we try to talk about the experience, and we try to make every day and every week something that kids want to be a part of, and not that they have to be a part of.
So, out of curiosity, last Sunday, there's a notable injury to Dak Prescott, right? Tough injury to watch, comes at an interesting time for him in his career. Are those the kind of things that your players are going to talk about during the week? Because it's something that they see, it might be a subject that they're talking about? And if so, do you use that as a teaching opportunity to talk to them about those kinds of things?
I normally don't ever talk about injuries.
No, just the impact of again, it's
Next man up kind of thing.
well, it's not necessarily next man up, but the whole idea of there was the contract stuff, and should he have signed and shouldn't he have signed, and how does that happen, and just the teenager who has aspirations. Everybody has aspirations about what I would do, what I would think, how I might handle those situations. And is that the kind of opportunity where you're, again, just from a teaching moment kind of standpoint, to be able to talk to those kids about life issues outside of off the field kind of stuff?
Yeah, we didn't talk about the Dak Prescott.
I didn't know. That's what I was asking. I just didn't know. Just
No,
curious.
obviously we want to try and pull as many life moments in as we can. Again, we had a conversation today, and that was what we're talking about. Is we're unhappy about where we are right now. Yeah, we had some good practices. Yeah, we've done some good things. Can you continue to stay positive in the moment and go back to work and realize there is value outside of the amount of snaps that you play, and to continue to work, because that is life. Life is, you're going to do everything right and the result's not going to come. You're going to do everything right and the result's not going to come. And there's no other option. You've got to keep working. So we try to pull as much of that in as we can.
Well, you though are a big believer in the mental health value that football can have for these young men.
Yes.
Right? And taking and applying some of that.
So I actually use that as well, because what's the other option? Go home and play video games, go home and look at your phone, go home and be disconnected in an increasingly disconnected world. At the end of the day, if you came out and got exercise and got to hang out with your buddies and compete a little bit, that's going to do more for your mental health than anything else that I can probably offer you in life.
So do you find, and have you had experiences where these kids who do struggle with, you talk at Milton, you hear the kids talk about it all the time, the stress, the pressure, that they feel from among their peers and whatever, that by participating in the sport, the way you're coaching it and whatnot can help diminish that isolation and give them a rip?
I don't know if you hear it as much as you see it, because that would be a very high level thing to be like, wow, man, my mental health feels better today because I was at football practice. And I don't mean that's not taking us a jab, but
Right.
But you can see it, and you see it when they're missing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you can almost feel the neurosis that starts to set in. I felt it in myself. I'm used to being around a lot of people a lot of the time, and when I'm removed from that, I feel the levels of stress go up. I feel it almost becomes awkward to interact, and that's a slippery slope. And we're not biologically wired to be that. We are pack and herd animals. Biologically, that is what is wired into our DNA. So you don't have to practice. You get to come out and play football. You get to be with these guys. You get to have a common goal that you work towards and feel good about, and go through the adversity of, man, it's not the way I wanted it right now, but what if we keep going? You know, the sweet is not sweet without the sour, right? So, you know, you got trying to help them connect those dots, because, you know, we live in a society now where if it ain't easy, it ain't good, so I might as well put this down and go on to the next. Well, I hope you have a really good next that you're going to, because, you know, I think this is worth it.
That's great. When I look at our program in general, we're starting to establish a really strong program at Milton, and since you've joined, and it's been really a lot of fun to see what we can do on the on the state championship level, but also
Let's go.
national championship
Come
level,
on,
which is next. Here we come.
Yeah. How come he gets to talk about that? And I
Yeah.
say the first thing about a sprained ankle, and you're like, hey,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Why are
I
you
get
changing
national
us?
championship. But we consistently have a theme of built different. And at the same time, every football program wants to be great, right? Every football coach wants to win tonight with the kids that they're bringing. Why are we different? When we say built different, without telling me what the Coke secret formula is, right? Because I don't want the next guys to know that, but I do want to know, like, it is fun for me to see that we are doing well and that we are getting the most out of our guys. Why?
I would say, you know, it starts with alignment from the top, from my principal to the AD to myself, and they made a decision to make football important at Milton. And when you know, I interviewed for the job, questions like that were asked. You know, I get it if I want something and it can't be done, but I hope that we say and look for reasons to say yes to things like having the guys in a first period weightlifting class, or, you know, anything that we need to do, all the way down to our feeder program, to make this the best experience possible. Starts there, and the number one thing that they could do for me, which was the number one thing that I could do for the kids, is surround them with great coaches, guys who are not only qualified from an X's and O standpoint, but also model and see the same vision that I see of a player-led team, coaches who want to empower kids, coaches who want to motivate through positivity for the most part, and just truly, you know, fall in line with that. And then it's funny you asked this, and I was thinking about it. At the end of the year, every coach does a postseason reflection, and I go through a series of questions, and every kid has the opportunity to do that as well. And I'll pull a lot of the outgoing seniors in, and there's a question very similar to that on there. What is it what has led to our success? And one cool thing that was resounding one year is basically said the fact that you're asking that question right now.
That's great.
You care, we care as a program what the players think, it's very important for us to explain the why to them. I don't want you to do this because I said so. I want you to do this because you believe in it because of this.
Yeah.
And,
It's the buy-in.
And if I have that why, if I have that buy-in, is when we're talking about, you know, if you tell somebody to trust the process without explaining a process to them, then they're just trusting you.
Yeah.
That's only skin deep. But if I can educate the process to you, the why behind it, these are our core values, and this is how we teach it. These are our keys to victory, and this is where we practice it in each and every week. When I say trust the process, you realize, hey man, we just got to keep going out and being us. And I think we just try to take that to every level that we do. We get feedback from the guys, and they see it as their program. And I think all those things together kind of help build and propel us.
That's great.
I don't recall a coach ever asking me what I thought about anything.
Right?
Yeah. Now, granted, I was coached by my dad a lot.
Yeah.
He was like, "Be quiet, son."
Yeah. I'm like, I'm right here in the car with you, coach. But it is an interesting transition sometimes that you can get valuable feedback, because we can sometimes think in a coaching perspective that we are communicating it correctly, and we are, having the things that we say resonate with the athletes that we're coaching. And then when you give them an opportunity to give you feedback, you realize, oh, okay, there was an adjustment that needed to be made, and there is a way that we could be more effectively doing this for the benefit of everybody.
Well, and, you know, it goes down to like even something like discipline, right? And hey, we don't have like a lot of team rules and things like that, but obviously we're going to have to build some things around, you know, practice expectations and things like that. And you'd be surprised. You put it back into their court before the fact. Say, what do you think the penalty for this should be? They're going to be a lot tougher than I want to be. You know. So when we have those conversations and we have that communication early, like, hey, this is important, right? Yes, sir, it is. So what should we do? So then when it happens, remember when we had that conversation and this is what we said was going to, yes, sir. And then it's not punishment, it's accountability. And you'd be surprised at how savvy these young men are of the importance of accountability, and they know exactly when you lack it. And when you start to lack it, now your credibility goes, now the trust goes, and they appreciate the fact that, you know what, it's stern but fair. Now there is grace in there for you know, different situations. But you know, when you solicit that feedback and when you take the time to explain the why, and you know, there's so many things that, hey, we could do it this way or that way. Which way would y'all like to do it? Wow, how empowering is that to say, you know what, I actually have some ownership in this program, because, you know, while it isn't their program, it is their team.
Right.
It is their team 100%. This 2020 team will never be again, and it never was before. This is their football team. And they need to own it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, it's been an awesome season to date. It's been, even with the crazy COVID, even with the weirdness of the limited tickets to the games, it has been one of the funnest seasons I can recall. Watching your team, watching these players really roll with it. I'm excited to see what the future holds for this team. It does seem, I mean, you talk about that 40% increase, like, that's going to be something incredibly special. Like, if you get that 40% increase, we're going to see something a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to the end of the season with you guys. I'm looking forward to the future with this team that we see. So just thank you from a, you know, person who lives in Milton, a person who follows the football team. It's been fun. I didn't even know we were going to play football this season, and so far it's been a lot of fun.
Man, it's kind of cool. I mean, like I said, that's what we talked about today. We're sitting here 4-1, and you know, and I still feel you kind of got that mid-season, a little bit of a drag, you know, like we talked about last week, and that's what we talked about all day. And we're rolling out some potential solutions to, hey guys, let's make this experience what it can be. You know, I've got guys who are peers of mine who are 0-5 right now, and we're talking about some of the same things. You know, let's reset, let's take a deep breath and realize, if I told you we were sitting here in July, all of us would be doing backflips. Right. So I want to be doing backflips on Monday, not that we got to go out and have Monday.
You don't tell your fellow coaches to be like, I have no idea, you're 0-5. I can't help you.
No, it goes with your theme.
I can't even identify with that.
It goes with your theme of the season. Let's have fun. And then the message I heard you give the team on one of the great hype films that these guys put out is you know, don't miss a moment and enjoy every moment. And it's been fun. I mean, it's just been a fun season as a fan. I hope you guys are having as much fun on your side.
No doubt, man, no doubt. I'm just looking forward to, you know, like I said, we're constantly trying to improve the product and constantly trying to push it forward. And we got to, you know, 1% at a time, we're trying to reach that ceiling that I think is very, very high for this group of kids.
Awesome.
All right, I feel like you're maybe turning the corner to being done.
We can be.
No, I didn't know. I didn't know if that
we
was
can be,
almost
or
said.
if you have something else.
Well, I had two questions.
Okay.
I had two things. First, one, I always like to throw something at you, Coach, that you quite frankly have to reject.
I thought you already did that earlier.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't. That was a walk up to it.
Okay.
That was not actually it. I'm happy to hear that we got some of the specialty plays.
I thought your question about Dak Prescott was that
No.
one, but no. Okay.
No. So this is my question. All right. So hypothetically, how many plays do you think you call in a given season?
In a given season, if there's 60 plays per game, give or take, that'd be 600 in the regular season.
Okay. So hypothetically, are all of those plays of equal value? Is there any one call that's more important than any other?
Oh, where's he going with this? That's what I'm thinking too, Coach. What's he doing?
Anything more important than
Right. Or would you go, they're all more important. Each one has equal value. They're all the same importance. There's
each one is designed to score a touchdown, I'll tell you that.
Okay. So I had an idea. And this is an idea I have shared with no one.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds like a sure win.
All right. So here's the thing. I think that when like the Booster Club next does like kind of a raffle type of,
You
fundraising.
want to call a play, don't you?
Mr. Punchline, Mr. Good Day
I don't wanna
Atlanta
call- no.
is gonna
I don't want to call
play.
play. I don't want to call play, but I think that should be an auction item, but just a trick play.
Just a trick.
Just trick play only.
What? So you want to auction off
One
to
trick
someone
play.
to call a trick play?
That
But
can be
he
called-
can decide when he calls it.
He decides when he calls it.
Okay.
But you get somebody gets to basically say, I want to see you run a double reverse flea flicker,
Hey,
right?
we might could arrange something.
He's like, we're gonna run a double reverse flea flicker some point during the season. If I want to get paid for it, sure, let's go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I think it raises.
We can raise some money doing
well,
that
you
anyhow.
couldn't. So obviously you couldn't, right? I think it would be a fun kind of a.
We can even name it after him.
This is the Jamie.
Oh, if you whoever the
How excited would you
bidder
be
was.
if the coaches on the sideline start yelling, "Run the Jamie! Run the Jamie!"
So what if we have a contest? The best trick play.
How you decide to do it? It's for the benefit of the program. I'm not telling you.
$100 submission.
Something
Eagle
everybody's
soar.
in. Yeah, like you'd kind of do your thing, and then at one point you get to go. All right, I'll call that play one time during the course of the season.
Come to the
And-
summer nights next year. We'll at the summer nights we'll be auctioning off a trick play to be played during the season.
I thought it's.
I think it's a great idea. Yeah,
right.
non-region.
Doesn't
Non-region,
matter.
of course.
Yeah. I'm not
What
saying,
was number-
And I'm not suggesting it be the 600th play of the season, right? So.
What was the other? What was you had number 2? You had 2 questions. Did
Oh,
you
okay,
not?
so number 2 is I'm still wearing my Milton softball hat because for the first time in a long time, the Milton softball program has made the state tournament.
Nice.
So,
Congrats.
so my question to you would be is what would be the advice that you might give those players that are getting their first opportunity, some are freshmen, some are seniors, to take advantage of that kind of don't miss the moment by getting to be in a state tournament for the
You
first
took
time.
it. I mean, I would just encourage them. I think about 18 a lot in the sense of everybody made big deals about, hey, first time this, first time that. Like, we can talk about all that stuff over Christmas. We got practice on Monday. We got practice on Tuesday. We're gonna have a game on Friday. We're gonna lock into this moment right here and be the best possible that we can be. Don't worry about all that other stuff. People can talk about that. Just keep doing what we're doing, and just stay in this moment.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting, and you do sometimes, I think all of us as parents sometimes, when you know it's a challenging opponent, without even really thinking about it, I always think of, when you have little kids, they're in the back of the car and you don't realize the degree to which they're listening to what you're saying. And you probably miss the number of times where incidentally you might be talking about the upcoming game and you're like, I think they're gonna knock the snot out of us, right? And so all the work that you're doing to try to get them focused on a task, the players at home maybe picking up an eavesdrop message.
Yeah, and that's just where you got to put the blinders on and
Yeah.
you smile and going through runs like that, and people are going to want to talk to you about it. People are going to want to pat you on the back and tell you, oh, you've done so good to get to this point, and just block it out. Go ahead, expect that you were going to win. You were going to go in there and you deserve to be here. So why not make the most of it and enjoy it and go ahead and
Embrace the dream.
let's keep this thing
Right,
going.
yeah.
So fear and anxiety and all those type of things, they don't live in the moment. They live in the past and they live in the future. I sit here and worry about what could be or worry about what has been. That's where the stress is.
Mhm.
Just focus on the task and that's
Do
how
what you do to the
that's
greatest
how you
ability.
block that stuff out.
Mhm.
That's great.
All right.
Go Milton softball.
Well, it's just great. I mean, the fact of the matter is that we are very fortunate to kind of be a title town of sorts.
Oh, absolutely.
As it relates to all the activities. In fact, I actually did the work because I was trying to figure it out the year you guys won state championship. That I believe that since we've moved into the new building, we are the winningest high school in Georgia.
Ooh.
Across all activities. So when you rack up the individual state titles in track and swimming and all the stuff that they do in drama and the state championships that they won there.
Those things matter.
Yeah.
I'll never forget watching our volleyball team celebrate their semifinal win in 18, and our guys were at the match, and they ran down with those girls. And I said, "This is huge.
Mhm.
They're feeling what it feels like to be successful in that moment, and that breeds belief. Having a lot of guys that play basketball who just made it to the semis, and that's huge. Those guys are experiencing what that feels like and realizing, you know what, like it's just another game. The stress, the pressure, if you can learn to block that out and stay in the moment, you got a huge advantage on the other guy who's worried about all the other stuff. So that I most certainly believe winning breeds winning. You raise and fall to your expectations. So all those things are huge advantages when you get into those big moments.
When we look at the success that Milton's had at the state level and winning championships, I got to tell you, my favorite state championship that Milton's ever had, it's the next one.
Hey.
Oh.
Yeah.
There he goes. Look at that. Drop that mic.
Thank you.
We'll get another one.
Do we get questions? Questions from the crowd? Any questions tonight?
So I've got 3.
All right. We came loaded.
So I don't know the whole season as far as like penalties and things. Seems like you had an inordinate amount of penalties. Maybe it was Alpharetta, who knows? But is there an adjustment we need to make from the penalties, or is that just because we're playing?
So there's kind of 3 types of penalties if you think about it, right? There's just the bonehead, lack of focus, pre-snap infractions, late hits out of bounds, unsportsmanlike. There's the penalties that are, not penalties. And then there's aggressive penalties. And it's funny enough, I read a study on this, and when teams are highly penalized with the bonehead, the false starts, the holdings, those are lack of techniques. That is typically a sign of a team that's not very good. Defenses a lot of times, and teams that get the aggressive penalties, there is no real correlation to winning and losing because those guys are playing to the echo of the whistle. So when I look at the penalties that we're talking about from the other night, I actually felt like we cleaned up a lot of the pre-snap infractions. False starts, none. Delay of games, none. Offsides on defense, none. The first one was a huge one. That quarterback was still inbound. I've watched the film over and over. That's an aggressive penalty. The face mask coming in, it wasn't a blatant, I'm ripping this guy's helmet off. Things happen, and you're going to get, when you have DBs who play aggressive tight coverage like we do, guess what? They're going to have a pass interference from time to time. So, great question, and yes, it's definitely something we look at, we measure, and we talk about every week. But what I truly look at inside the numbers is not necessarily did we have more penalties or not, did we have more unforced error penalties or not? And I felt like we were actually not as bad. We were 7-4 against them last week, and I think back to those 3 big ones early that really, I don't want to change the way they're playing in that moment.
Right.
Can I get 2 more?
You may have one more.
One more.
Well, there was.
We'll
we have
consider
an
your
additional raised
second one.
hand behind you.
We'll give you one more.
Yeah.
So it feels like our kicking game is at an elite level, like especially with punting, just elite level. So can you look at like us versus the region? Do you feel like that's an advantage? We can take it. I mean, is that part of the strategy, or is it something that?
So, first off, hats off. I can't thank this man enough for bragging on him. Coach Broom, and it made me really feel bad as a head coach. It took him coming to me to ask if the soccer coach asked if he could help with our kickers. I'm like,
That's great.
yes, of course you can. Why have I not already come to talk to you? And since then, he has built a stable of kickers. Our JV kicker may be better than any other
JV kicker's unbelievable.
Any other kicker in the region. And we have 2 loop kickers who are fighting, who I think both have opportunities to play Division I football, who are fighting for playing time. And yes, that is a huge weapon. And just to speak on special teams, again, I'm a metric guy, I'm a data guy, and I truly believe if you don't measure it, don't matter. And so subjective things and gray things are hard sometimes to say, hey, we need to be X amount good on special teams this week. So we've built a metric on the way we measure and we quantify our special teams. So it's kind of like if anybody's familiar with a WAR in baseball, wins above replacement.
Yeah.
So we basically have that for our special teams. And, you know, only one time this year have we been negative. We were negative 2 or 3 against, I want to say Cedar Grove.
Yeah.
We were +3 last week. We were +5 the week before. You know, for example, against Marietta last year, we were +14. It was the only thing that kept us in that ball game. And that's why you see us take shots. You know, somebody asked me, do you regret the onside kick? Heck no. Like, when you really look at it, our success rate on the surprise onside kicks has been 70%. I'll sacrifice 20 yards of field position for the attempt to put a team away right there in that moment. And I think our kids rally to that. And they know that that's coming. And they understand that that's the mentality we play with. And our defense wears it as a badge of honor that coach is willing to be aggressive because he believes in us. So we definitely try to use our kicking game. Not as, I don't want to be even in the kicking game. I don't want to just not make mistakes. I want to attack you and put pressure on you with our kicking game and our kickers.
Great.
Go ahead.
We'll come back.
We'll
to
come back to you. We'll come back to you.
Hey, Coach, somebody other than Tim Hall. Hey, I'm gonna assume that you saw this picture and had a lot of pride from the Georgia Tech Clemson game last
Absolutely.
night, with 5 of your players dressed out. That was incredible to see that picture from those boys that, you know, have meant so much to this program and have been, and we're all mentors to the younger kids coming up.
Yeah.
So I can imagine, it's kind of the first thing I thought of when I saw the picture. I'm like, Coach Clack must be so thrilled. to see
Yeah, I
this
saw that
picture.
on Twitter.
Let's just repeat the question, make sure that they hear us at home.
Yeah.
So the question was regarding a photograph that was taken at the Clemson Georgia Tech game
Yeah.
that showed 5 Milton players playing in that game. You know, talk a little bit about that, Coach.
Yeah, no, just, yeah, you hit it on the head. Really more of a factual statement. That is pride, you know, I don't know what just that is, to see that, those 5 guys, and all of them kind of different, you know, and got there in a different way. You talk about Dylan Leonard as a walk-on who's now on scholarship, Anthony Manella who's walking on, fighting his way, Jordan Yates who was an early commit there, battling through with the coaching change, and then you got Paul and you got, you know, Joe who, you know, they could have went anywhere and just highly recruited guys who, the way they handled their whole recruitment. I told Joe this, you know, I said the fact that the way that you handled your recruitment might be as big of an impact on this program as anything anybody else has done. Because he had every opportunity to make it about him, and all he wanted to do was deflect to the team. So to see that picture, he sent a group message to all 5 of them, just telling them how proud, how much I love them, and you know, got great responses back, and yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. All leaders too.
All leaders, every one of them. Every one of them earned a captain's award, absolutely. Voted on by their peers, and that's how we do it at 10.
That was
Thanks,
great to
Coach.
see.
Back to Tim.
No,
So I know we got Etowah coming up,
Etowah coming up.
right? And we got a bye week, and then we got Roswell. Roswell's, I think, the only loss we had the championship year, right?
Them at Parkview.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Roswell across
Right.
town. It hurts deep, right?
Yep.
So I know we got to beat Etowah, but you got Roswell that would love nothing more than defeat us, right?
Sure.
So are you prepping for Roswell? Are you prepping for Etowah? Are you prepping for both?
100% Etowah right now. You got to take them one at a time because they count the same. But like I said, what I love is, and I'm not making an excuse, but I'll walk you through kind of what I mean when I say this. when we lost to Roswell in 2018, we had just come off of Archer in our first Corky Kell experience, and they were a top 20 team in the nation. We played Alpharetta, who was a rivalry, in a heated, if y'all remember that game, that was a very heated game. Then we turn around in the Freedom Bowl, hosting that for the first time, and play another top 20 team in the nation and just decimate them.
QB1, if you haven't seen it yet, go ahead and watch that.
I remember going into the bye week and talking to our team, because I'm a big believer in there's an art to peaking. We can't run this hot. We can't run this hot for 15 straight weeks. And so I downplayed everything there was to downplay. I gave the kids off till Wednesday, and we downplayed everything there was about that Roswell game because that's not what we needed in that moment. And that's not why we lost the game. We lost the game because they outplayed us and we made mistakes. But it was very hard for me to get up the proper emotion for that game, and they came in there like they were ready to play. It is what it is because I think we peaked when we needed to peak that year. But now that they're in our region, I love it. I just love now that because that's going to be the most important game for the right reasons now. And so, yeah, we're going to take care of Etowah. I promise you, we didn't talk one thing about Roswell today. We talked 100% Etowah. Now we get into the bye week and we'll start looking ahead. And we'll be ready.
Well, Coach, as a Roswell resident and former Roswell parent, I hope nothing more. Nothing more. We played, that's when we started playing football.
Let's make it 3 out of 4.
Some Roswell alumni converted to Milton.
Do you have any game film breakdowns?
Yeah,
that
can you
wanna share
maybe
with
give us some
coaches?
inside stuff?
Those are still my people.
Yeah.
I love those.
It's fun when you play your neighbors. All right.
All right. Well, Coach, we appreciate it as always.
Another great night. Thanks for all the insight, Coach. It's been fun. Thanks again to Dos Margaritas.
Those margaritas.
Thanks again for the crowd assembled. You guys have been great. Great questions, Tim.
Good questions.
All right, let's go Braves.
Let's go,
Yeah, right. Let's go
Bravos.
Braves.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Good night.